The night scene of New York was always full of vibrant life. The sound of fire truck sirens, the hurried footsteps on the sidewalk, and the bright lights of the city that never sleeps. In the small yet cozy room of the police station, Jack Anderson, a seasoned officer, sat on his leather chair, gently petting his Belgian Malinois, Max. The two had been inseparable for 6 years, facing dangerous missions, tense chases, and long sleepless nights together. Max was more than just a dog. He was a teammate, a loyal friend. With his bright eyes and keen nose, Max could detect traces that humans could never notice. This made him an invaluable part of the police team. Every morning, Jack and Max would go for a walk around the park before starting their day. It was the only time they could relax before facing the tough challenges of the job. Jack always felt safe with Max by his side, especially during dangerous missions. Max was his eyes and ears, always ready to protect Jack in unexpected situations. But things weren't always easy. Once, during a raid on a drug cartel, Jack nearly lost his life when a criminal suddenly opened fire. It was Max who lunged forward, biting down on the criminal's arm and pulling Jack out of the line of fire. Since then, Jack had seen Max as an irreplaceable friend, an essential part of his life. This morning, as Jack prepared for a new investigation, a feeling of anxiety washed over him. This case could be very complex. A few days ago, reliable sources informed him that an organized crime gang involved in weapons and drug trafficking was operating in the area, and Jack knew that this time, Max would once again be his trusted partner. The arms and drug trafficking case in New York City was one of the largest Jack had ever faced. The information he received from a source within the criminal world indicated that the gang was transporting a large shipment of weapons to the East Brooklyn area. These goods were not only dangerous but also linked to international criminal syndicates. The next morning, Jack and Max set out. They arrived at the police station at 7 a.m., where Jack's team was gathering to discuss the action plan. Sarah Mills, a new investigator who had joined the team this week, was present. She was sharp in analysis and had experience with major cases in other cities. However, she had never worked with a police dog, so she was somewhat skeptical about Max's role in the operation. "Hi, Sarah. This is Max." Jack smiled, pointing to the dog sitting beside him. Max stood tall, ears perked up, and eyes straight ahead, his expression always serious, as if preparing for an important mission. "Hello, Sarah." Max seemed to understand and wagged his tail politely, which surprised Sarah. She frowned slightly, unsure how to react. "I'm not sure how much this dog can contribute to the case, but if possible, I'll try to learn how to work with him." Jack understood Sarah's skepticism, but he also knew that Max had unique abilities that not everyone could comprehend. He didn't say anything more, just smiled lightly and began to explain the plan. "We have intel from the source that the weapons shipment will pass through the East Brooklyn area tonight. Max will help us track any traces we might miss." Sarah Mills was an intelligent, sharp woman who always found ways to approach complex cases from different angles. She had an impressive record of solving major cases, but she lacked experience working with animals. While she had worked with many tactical teams, coordinating with a special dog like Max was a challenge she had never considered. As she sat in the meeting room, Sarah stared at Max. She had never truly understood the importance of police dogs in a mission like this. She had worked with high-tech tools and advanced equipment, but this dog only had fur and a nose. "Can this dog really help us?" Sarah wondered. But after just a few hours working with Max, Sarah realized that everything she thought about police dogs was completely wrong. Max was not just an ordinary dog. He had a supernatural ability to detect scents and traces that humans could not recognize. During a training session with the team, Max quickly found an important trace in a nearby vacant lot. Sarah stood beside Jack, her eyes never leaving Max. "Unbelievable!" Sarah exclaimed, amazed. "This dog actually found the trace when I couldn't see anything at all." Jack smiled. "Max always does that. He can pick up traces we never even think of. He's the indispensable partner in every mission." Jack's investigation team began planning meticulously. They split up to monitor key points in the East Brooklyn area, which was believed to be a stopping point for the criminal gang. Max, with his bright eyes and sleek fur, led the search for traces. During a night patrol, when the only light came from the dim street lamps, Max suddenly stopped and sniffed the air. His nose began to move. Heading toward a quiet alley, Jack and Sarah followed, and Max led them to an abandoned house. "Where is this?" Sarah asked, surprised to see Max stop and start scratching at the front door. "We'll check it out," Jack replied, carefully drawing his gun from its holster. He turned to look at Sarah. "Stay here. Max and I will go inside." But Sarah didn't listen. She decided to follow them inside. They walked down a dark hallway, with Max continuing to lead with absolute confidence. When they reached the end of the hallway, Max stopped in front of a locked door. Jack opened it and stepped inside, only to discover a massive weapons stash hidden beneath the floor. "We've found an important lead. This is the place we need to investigate," Jack said, feeling both excited and concerned. The gang clearly had much more dangerous operations than they had originally thought. After discovering the hidden weapons stash beneath the floor of the abandoned house, Jack and his team felt a sense of relief. They had found an important lead in breaking the weapons and drug trafficking ring. However, that relief quickly turned to worry when they realized that this criminal group was not going to be easy to take down. The next day, as the team gathered at the police station to plan their raid on the weapons stash, an explosion occurred in the nearby parking lot. The blast was deafening. Smoke billowed everywhere, and panic ensued. Car was completely burned, leaving the police team in shock. Jack stood amidst the crowd, quickly glancing at Max. The dog looked at him, silent but with eyes full of understanding. "That's a message," Jack said, his voice dropping. "We've made these guys angry." Max rushed toward the burning car and began searching through the debris. Jack and Sarah followed, but there was no sign of life, only fragments of the car and the smoke. "They're playing cat and mouse," Sarah said, feeling the tension mounting. Suddenly, Max barked loudly, causing both Jack and Sarah to stop. Max had found a phone left on the ground, covered in dust. Jack bent down, picked it up, and realized it was a phone belonging to the criminal gang. "They probably left this to mislead us," Jack thought to himself, but he also knew this could be an opportunity to track the gang's activities. After examining it carefully, Jack discovered a secret message on the phone. "They're coming. We need to move now. Everything's been exposed. We have to act fast." Jack said to Sarah and Max, "These aren't just ordinary criminals. They know how to protect themselves and are willing to kill to keep their secrets." With the information from the phone, Jack and the police team were able to pinpoint where the criminal group was moving. It was a large warehouse located near the industrial area on the outskirts of the city. Jack, Sarah, Max, and several other officers began planning the attack. Max took the lead. As usual, the dog was keen at detecting the scent traces in the air, and within minutes, Max led the team to an abandoned house near the warehouse. As they approached, Max stopped and sniffed around. "Here!" Max barked loudly, then ran ahead to the front of the house, where signs of a recent break-in were visible. Jack motioned for everyone to be quiet. "Be careful," he whispered. "They might be watching us." Everyone stood ready, waiting for the next signal from Max. The dog led them through dark alleys to an open window in the abandoned house. Jack signaled for the team to move in, and they all proceeded quietly. Max led the way, his strong body moving confidently, showing no sign of fear. The dog swept the area with his sharp nose, then barked decisively when he found a criminal hiding in the corner of the room. "Freeze!" Jack shouted, pointing his gun at the armed criminal. The man didn't have time to react before Max lunged, jumping up and biting down on his hand, causing him to fall to the ground. Sarah quickly rushed over to restrain the criminal while Jack examined the evidence. "We need to get him back to the station quickly," Jack said. "This is our chance to learn more about the gang's plans." The arrested criminal was not an unknown figure. When captured, he identified himself as Victor Ramirez, one of the right-hand men of the gang leader. Though he didn't reveal much information, an important clue was found: a map detailing the weapon trafficking locations in the city. Back at the police station, Jack and Sarah began analyzing the information gathered from the criminal. Although Victor didn't provide much in the way of details, the map he carried turned out to be the key to cracking the case. The markings on the map indicated that a large shipment of weapons was set to be delivered to a relatively hidden area this weekend. This was one of the gang's biggest vulnerabilities. They had no idea the police had intercepted them right from the start. With Max's help, Jack continued to guide the police team along new leads. Max had picked up a distinctive scent on a quiet street where there was an abandoned warehouse. Jack and the team decided to thoroughly investigate the area. Upon arrival, Max began to growl and ran straight into the warehouse. "We can't miss this opportunity," Jack ordered. The team quickly entered the warehouse and discovered a large weapons stash, containing all sorts of firearms and military equipment. These were clearly expensive items, hidden away to avoid detection by the police. However, what was even more alarming was that in a dark corner of the warehouse, they uncovered a massive stash of opium, also concealed in unmarked cardboard boxes. Jack realized that this gang wasn't just dealing in weapons. They were also involved in drug trafficking, a part of a much larger operation they were trying to set up. "We've found something bigger than we thought," Jack said, his eyes lighting up with determination. "This time, we can't let them escape." When the information about the weapons and opium stash was confirmed, Jack and the police team had no more doubts. This gang was not only operating within the city of New York but also had strong ties with international criminal organizations. Piece by piece, the clues made the case even more complex. An urgent meeting was called that night at the police station. Jack, Sarah, and international crime experts began analyzing the connections between this criminal group and gangs in Europe and Latin America. High-profile criminals were present in the city, and they were preparing for a major shipment. "We can't let them escape this time," Jack said, staring at the map and the documents collected. "This is not just a fight against one gang. It's a battle against a global criminal network." Max stood beside Jack, his eyes shining with understanding. Jack knew that in this fight, Max wasn't just a loyal companion but an indispensable partner, helping him step by step to uncover the hidden enemies. The following days would be a tense confrontation, where every move Jack and his team made came with a price of danger. Max was always at the front, leading the way and protecting the team from unexpected situations. They all knew this battle wouldn't be easy, but they would not stop until justice was served. The night sky over New York was dominated by the shimmering neon lights. But in the darkness, the signs of a pursuit were unfolding. Jack and his team were tracking the criminal group they had uncovered during their investigation. Max, with his sharp eyes and sleek coat, was leading the chase. They had spotted a large truck moving through the outskirts of the city in the late hours. Inside the truck, the criminals were transporting a large shipment of weapons and drugs. Jack and his team had planned carefully, using tracking devices and intel from their inside sources to follow them. "All right, Max," Jack said, his voice lowering. "This time we need to move fast. Don't let them get away." Max sniffed the air and barked softly, as if telling Jack he was ready for the mission. Jack and Sarah stayed close behind Max, following the trail left by the truck. Every turn, every empty street, Max calculated it all precisely. That night, Jack's team had to navigate through deserted streets and abandoned industrial areas. The headlights of the truck ahead were the only guide. Max continued to bark every time a key trace appeared. Jack could feel the tension rising with each passing minute. They were getting close. Suddenly, the truck turned down a secluded road. Jack signaled for his team to stop. "We can't let them suspect anything. Everyone stay quiet. Follow me," Jack ordered. They continued on foot through the darkened areas, with Max leading, showing no sign of fatigue. The dog stopped in front of a large wall. where signs of a hidden door were visible. Max growled once, then let out a loud bark. Jack knew this was the moment to act. The team rushed in. The wall opened, and before them stood a massive weapons stash, filled with firearms and drugs. A deal was happening right in front of them. "Don't let them escape," Jack shouted, and the raid began. The team stormed into the warehouse, with Max quickly diving into the crowd of criminals and capturing the leader. The remaining criminals rushed toward the back door, but they couldn't escape. Jack and his team quickly surrounded them. After a tense night and a dangerous pursuit, Jack and his team successfully captured the criminal group. They had gathered enough evidence and information to dismantle the entire weapons and drug trafficking network. However, despite the victory, Jack still felt a sense of emptiness inside. One evening, while everyone was resting at the police station, Jack sat alone in his office, the dim light casting shadows on his face. Max sat beside him, resting his head on Jack's lap, as if understanding that his partner needed some time to reflect. Sarah walked in. Noticing Jack quietly gazing out the window, she walked over, sat next to him. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. Jack turned to look at Sarah, offering a slight smile. "It's just, sometimes I feel tired, even though we've won. There are things I can't change." Sarah was surprised, looking at Jack with curiosity. "What do you mean? Isn't this case a huge victory?" Jack sighed. "Yes, it's a victory, but it doesn't change my past." He glanced down at Max before continuing. "Before I joined the police, I was a firefighter. Once, during a massive fire, I saved a woman and her daughter, but while I was saving them, the building collapsed, and I got trapped. I almost lost my life. After that, I left the fire department and joined the police force." Jack paused for a moment, then continued, "Max, this dog, helped me regain my faith in life. When I started working with Max, I realized life isn't just about big victories. It's about the moments when we can do good for others." Sarah listened, looking at Jack with a gaze full of empathy. "You're a hero, Jack, not just because of the big victories, but because of what you've done all this time. Max is your best friend, and you're also his best friend." With the information gathered from the captured criminals, Jack and his team continued their investigation and got closer to dismantling the entire trafficking network. A major criminal, believed to be the mastermind behind the entire operation, had been identified, but as they approached, things didn't go as smoothly. Jack knew this time they would face someone much more dangerous. The leader had ties to international criminal organizations and had repeatedly evaded police capture. Jack understood that if they weren't careful, the entire team could be in serious danger. In a meeting at the police station, Jack briefed his team on the next steps. "We've identified the leader. He's preparing a large transaction in the downtown area. We need to act quickly." "My team will be ready," Sarah replied, her gaze determined. Max stood up, ready to go. Jack looked at Max and smiled. "You're my indispensable partner, Max." As the investigation neared its end, Jack and his team prepared for a major raid on the gang's weapons stash. They had received information that a large shipment of weapons and drugs would be transported through a secluded industrial area at night. The entire team gathered at the police station to finalize their detailed plan. Max, as always, was tasked with finding the traces and leading the way for the team. Jack, Sarah, and the rest of the members would carry out the raid, ensuring that no one in the criminal group could escape. As night fell, Jack's team moved quietly through the empty streets. Max led the way, his nose close to the ground, not missing a single trace. Suddenly, Max stopped and barked loudly. The team immediately halted, all ready for action. Up ahead, in the warehouse, Jack whispered, "Everyone prepare." They moved closer and saw a large truck parked in front of the warehouse. Max sniffed and barked confidently. This was the spot where the criminals were preparing for the deal. Jack ordered the team to attack immediately. A fierce raid followed. The criminals didn't give up easily. But with Max's support, Jack's team quickly took control of the situation. Max charged into the crowd of criminals, stopping one from trying to escape. Jack and Sarah didn't miss their chance, surrounding the leader and capturing him. In the end, with Max's help, Jack's team gathered enough evidence to dismantle the entire weapons and drug trafficking network, taking down one of the most dangerous criminal organizations in New York. That day, although everything seemed to be going according to plan, the raid on the weapons stash did not go as smoothly as expected. When Jack and his team entered the warehouse, they were met with a well-trained army of armed guards, criminals who were ready to fight to the death to protect their stash of weapons. Max, as always, charged into the fight, always leading the way to protect Jack and his team, while Jack commanded his team to charge forward. Max quickly spotted one of the criminals trying to escape through the back door. Without hesitation, Max rushed toward him, biting his hand to prevent him from fleeing. However, when the criminal turned around and raised his gun, a shot rang out. Everything happened so fast. Max was shot in the leg, and the dog's painful bark echoed through the warehouse. Jack saw the scene and felt his heart stop. "Max!" he screamed, rushing toward his dog. Sarah and the other officers immediately secured the area and arrested the remaining criminals. But all eyes were on Jack and Max. His loyal dog had collapsed, its leg severely injured. Jack knelt beside Max, his hands trembling as he checked the wound. Blood was still flowing, and Max was breathing heavily. But despite the injury, Max still tried to lick Jack's hand, as if to say he was okay. "No, Max, don't do that," Jack said, his voice choked with emotion. He quickly called for an ambulance, but he couldn't help but feel a deep sense of worry as he watched Max lying there, no longer moving much. Every second that passed felt like a century to Jack. The police helicopter quickly arrived, and they transported Max to the nearest veterinary hospital. Jack sat in the waiting room, his eyes fixed on the door, his heart filled with anxiety. Sarah sat next to him, looking at Jack with sympathetic eyes. "It will be okay," Sarah said. But Jack couldn't bring himself to believe the comforting words. He just wanted to know that Max would be all right, his dog, his loyal companion, who had always protected him in every situation. Finally, after an hour of intense waiting, the veterinarian came out and announced that Max was out of danger. Though the injury was quite serious, with prompt medical care, Max would recover. Jack felt a huge sense of relief, but he knew that Max would need a long rest before he could return to duty. For several weeks, Jack never left Max's side. His dog needed complete rest to heal from the injury, and Jack spent all his free time taking care of him. Every morning, while the rest of the team was ready to continue their work, Jack still made time to take Max for a walk in the park. Even though the dog could only walk slowly, Sarah often stopped by Jack's house to check on Max's condition. She couldn't fully understand the bond between Jack and Max, but she could see the love and sacrifice both shared for each other. She knew that nothing was more important than helping Max fully recover. One day, when Max was lying on the rug, staring intently out the window, Jack sat beside him, gently stroking his back. "It's going to be okay, buddy," Jack said. "We'll be back to work soon. You're the best friend I have." Max let out a weak groan, but his eyes brightened. Jack felt a shift in the air. It seemed like Max had regained some strength, and the dog's recovery filled Jack with hope. This also marked the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. While Max recovered, Jack's team continued to investigate the criminal gang. They had enough evidence to arrest the high-ranking members of the organization. But Jack knew that the situation wasn't over. The people behind it wouldn't give up so easily. 1 month after his injury, Max had almost fully recovered, although he still showed a slight weakness in his step. The energy and strength Max was known for had returned. Jack couldn't hide his joy when he saw Max ready to get back to work. "Are you ready?" Jack asked, looking at his dog with pride. Max responded with a happy bark, jumping up and wagging his tail. Jack laughed loudly, then put the collar on Max. They got into the car and headed to the police station. Max's return brought new hope to the entire team. Everyone was thrilled to see the brave police dog back. "All right, Max," Jack said. "We won't let them escape this time. It all ends today." Jack's team prepared for the final operation. They had gathered enough evidence to know that the leader, the head of the criminal gang, would be organizing a major deal that night at a secluded port. This was their last chance to completely end this case. Max no longer had any hesitation about his injury. The dog was ready to charge into battle once again, protecting Jack and his team. Since Jack had chosen Max as his companion in life, they had become an unbeatable team. The attack on the harbor took place on a cold night. Jack's team, along with special police forces, had surrounded the area, preparing for the biggest confrontation with the criminal gang. Max led the way, his nose sniffing the air, ready to detect any trace. "All right, Max," Jack commanded. "Let's finish this." As they approached the harbor, Max picked up the distinctive scent trail of the criminals trying to move the goods. Max led the team through narrow alleys and the darkness of the port, where the faint light from street lamps dimly illuminated everything. When they neared the point of the transaction, Jack's team began to deploy, but as they were about to close in, the criminal gang realized the police's presence and started to react aggressively. A fierce battle ensued. Max, with his courage, charged into the crowd of criminals, subduing one who was about to shoot at Jack. Jack and Sarah, along with the other officers, arrested the entire gang, including the leader. When it was over, Jack looked at Max with a look of deep gratitude. "We did it, Max," Jack said, petting the dog. Returning to the police station, Jack received the good news that he had been promoted to captain due to his outstanding efforts in solving the case. But he knew that none of his achievements would have been possible without Max. Their relationship had become more than just professional collaboration. It was a genuine friendship, the incredible loyalty of a four-legged companion. In the end, the two of them stepped into a new chapter of life, continuing to protect the community and fight for justice. Max, Jack's indispensable partner, would always be by his side through every challenge, and their friendship would forever be a beautiful story of loyalty and love. Jack and his team had worked together for a month to prepare for the final confrontation. With the information gathered from the captured criminals and their careful investigations, they had pinpointed a key location, a luxurious mansion on the outskirts, where the last leader of the criminal gang was hiding. It was known that this man had evaded the police for years, and now it was time for Jack and his team to put an end to it all. Throughout the preparation, Jack couldn't help but think of Max, his indispensable partner. Max, though fully recovered from his previous injury, would never escape the emotional scars. It was part of the job, part of the battle against crime, which Max and Jack had fought together. "Max, today we end this," Jack said, looking at his dog, who was sitting quietly beside him in the car. Max looked at him, his eyes full of determination. "You've always been my loyal friend, and today we will do what needs to be done." The raid on the mansion took place in the dead of night. Special police forces had been deployed, and Jack led his team with Max by his side. The team moved silently through the dark streets, making their way into the mansion. Max led the way, his keen nose picking up scents that humans couldn't detect. The light from the street lamps cast long shadows on the ground, which the team had to navigate. As they neared the mansion, Max stopped. "Be careful," Jack ordered, his eyes never leaving Max. The dog stood tall, ears erect, eyes fixed on the house. There was no movement, but Jack could feel the tension in the air. Their opponent was smart and dangerous, and they needed to be ready for anything. Suddenly, a noise came from inside the house. Max immediately rushed in, reacting instinctively, and the team followed. The gang leader, the man they had been hunting for so long, was standing at the end of the hallway, holding a gun and preparing to face them. Jack quickly signaled the team to raid, but before they could act, Max lunged, biting down on the leader's hand. The man turned around, trying to shoot at Max, but Jack quickly fired, taking him down instantly. The team surrounded the gang leader, eventually arresting him and rescuing the previously kidnapped victims. "It's finally over," Jack sighed, looking at the criminal handcuffed before him. Max stood beside him, lifting his head, as if to say that justice had been served. Even though this battle was over, Jack knew that his work would never be easy, and new challenges would always lie ahead. With a major victory in the fight against the criminal gang, Jack Anderson was promoted to police captain. Although Jack was always humble and disliked praise, this recognition was well-deserved for the effort and sacrifices he had made over the years. The promotion ceremony was held at the police station, and Jack stood before his teammates, with Max by his side. "Thank you all for your constant support and hard work to protect this city," Jack said, his voice deep and full of emotion. "With your help, I know we can overcome any challenge. But this job is not just mine. It's the effort of the entire team." Max stood beside Jack, his head held high, as if sharing this honor with his owner. Max was an integral part of the team, a loyal friend who had always stood by Jack during the toughest times. After the ceremony, Jack received many congratulations from his colleagues, but he didn't forget his main goal: to continue protecting the city and its innocent people. Together with Max, Jack would keep fighting for justice, knowing that bigger challenges lay ahead. With his new job and greater responsibilities, Jack began to feel the changes in his life. Becoming the captain brought him more power and responsibility, but it also created significant pressure. The decisions Jack had to make now affected the entire team, and he had to consider every situation carefully. However, despite the increasing stress at work, Jack never abandoned Max. The dog had always been his wonderful companion, and the two had been through many difficult moments together. Every morning, they went for walks together, enjoying peaceful moments before starting a new day of work. These mornings were not only times of relaxation but also moments for Jack to appreciate the special bond between him and Max. Although Jack knew that his life would never go back to how it was before, with all the challenges and stress, he felt that having Max by his side helped him stay grounded. Jack understood that nothing was more valuable than the friendship and loyalty Max provided. One morning, as Jack and Max were walking in the park, they ran into Sarah. She had been assigned to a new mission but kept in touch with Jack. "Hey, you two," Sarah smiled, looking at Max. "You both look like a winning team." "We're still fighting," Jack smiled in response. "No matter how tough the job gets, I know I'll never face it alone." That day, as the sunlight slowly faded behind the towering buildings, Jack and Max sat on a bench in the park, gazing at the wispy clouds. Their lives had gone through many ups and downs, but now, they had found peace in these simple moments. "We've done everything we could, Max," Jack said, his eyes fixed on the dog. "It's all behind us now, and we can rest." Max looked at Jack, his eyes full of understanding and unconditional loyalty. Though their work was never truly over, Jack knew that with Max by his side, he could face any challenge. This dog was not only a teammate but also a trustworthy friend who had always been there for Jack when things got tough. The story ends with the image of Jack and Max sitting together, enjoying the peaceful moments after a long battle. Though many uncertainties lay ahead, they knew that the friendship between humans and animals would always be an invaluable source of strength, helping them continue to protect justice and the good values in life.